Hey everyone, RogueGold here, welcome back to The Division 2. And today I wanted to discuss one of the new named items and perfected talents that dropped with the recent Year 6 Season 3 update to the game. We are about a month or so into this new season, and theory crafting for this item has been eating away at me. Like, I've been racking my brain trying to come up with what some of the best combinations for this item may be. So far I've come up with what I think are some cool combinations which I will show off, but I'm convinced that with all of you watching, we can come up with far more. So I love these kinds of items and talents that really reinforces the creativity potential that the Division games offer. Some of my favorite stuff in this franchise is making these wacky, fun, but effective builds, and that's exactly why I wanted to make this video. So without further ado, let's just get right to it and discuss. Alright, so this is the item in question right here. It is the Axel named backpack from the new Shiny Monkey Gear brand set. The flavor text reads, "Don't fear your instincts, society taught you how to fail," but its named uniqueness, if we scroll down here, is that it comes with the talent of Perfect Energize. Using an armor kit grants +1 skill tier for 15 seconds, if already at skill tier 6, grants overcharge, and the cooldown there is 30 seconds. Now, before we get into discussing this thing further, I'll just say if you want to pick one of these up, you do get a copy of it from the season pass, but then additionally, you can just go out in the world and target farm Shiny Monkey Gear, and you should have a pretty good chance for it to drop in Countdown or wherever else you might want to play. But some of your guys' top question, I'm sure right now, is how does this differ from regular Energize? Well, if we back out here and go into the library, we go to Backpacks, Talents, and if we find Energize right at the top here, all the text is the same. The difference is the cooldown on the normal version is 60 seconds. And so while it may seem mundane at first glance, Perfect Energize here is actually a very strong talent because it is reducing that cooldown by 50%, therefore increasing the uptime of overcharge on your character by, I won't say 50% because I don't know that exact math, but by a good bit. And overcharge is one of those concepts and gameplay mechanics within this game that I think has really been underutilized up until now. Largely in this video, we're ignoring the current seasonal modifier, Rogue Momentum, that's on offer, because of course that does grant you skill overcharge when you get to the maximum tier. But that of course will go away at the end of the season, whereas this piece will not. And so by using the Axel, the little metric that I came up with, is that for every 45-second window within combat, you have a 33% uptime of overcharge. And that's quite good. I'm pretty sure, again, save for the seasonal modifier, which we're not including here, I believe that is the best and highest ratio of overcharge uptime that you can get in the game. However, the beauty of it all doesn't end here. So if I go into the shooting range really quickly to demonstrate, of course we'll do a little bit of self-damage because we have to use an armor kit. So most people would use this, and then you'll see at the bottom of the HUD, oh great, I get the energized buff. Now my skills are overcharged. I get all the great benefits there. But what I've chosen to do on this build is pair it with the chest piece of the Everyday Carrier. This is the named Bellstone chest piece, which comes with perfectly efficient, which makes it that when I use an armor kit, I have a 75% chance not to consume it. But this doesn't just benefit using a traditional armor kit. Some PvP players might know where I'm going with this, but let's do this again where I damage myself. Guess what? You can use the instant armor kit, and that still counts. We just procced Energize just like that. So essentially what this Axel backpack is doing is not only providing us with some of the best uptime on overcharge in the game, but it means that assuming you have a build with 6 skill tiers on, like I do in this example, you at the click of a button, or 2 buttons since you have to double tap the armor kit, can essentially activate overcharge at will. And in my opinion, that opens the door for the potential of what kinds of different builds you could mix this with. So like I mentioned in the intro, I have made a couple of builds for this thing so far that, let me just be very clear, are not perfect by any definition, but I think they really exemplify the variety that this piece can offer. So the first one here is actually a more offensive focused damage build. Here's a look at the breakdown. Again, like I said, this is not perfect, it's not min-maxed. If you notice the blue minor attributes, I have armor regen rolls there instead of the crit ones that I would want, because some of these pieces are quite rainbow to try and acquire. But apart from the Axel and Everyday Carrier staples, I've got 2 pieces of Brazos on here with the Bucaros holster for the extra skill tier. The reason for the second piece of Bellstone and the one Palisade, I really just wanted to have a bit of sustain in the form of armor on kill here, right? Once I proc overcharge and pop the instant kit, the armor on kill will usually fill me back up. And so the fun here, in my opinion, comes in with what these skills do once they're under the condition of overcharge. The Striker Shield specifically from Firewall, just like every other shield variant, it becomes invulnerable for that 15-second period that you're on overcharge. The Pulse, on the other hand, actually grants you an extra talent that it labels under the skill breakdown, where it gives you and your team 15% amplified damage to any pulsed enemies. And that's why specifically I think this build would work quite well in a group setting, right? You could have teammates stand behind you and get the extra damage from the Striker Shield. Meanwhile, it's invulnerable, meaning you're protecting them quite well. And then of course if you're pulsing as often as you can, that means that your team's DPS is going to go up by quite a bit from that 15% amplified boost. So again, when you think of skill overcharge as a concept, this is probably not the first kind of build that would come to mind, but that's really why I think this is so fun. Another setup I came up with, this one leans much more towards a traditional skill overcharge kind of theme. Here's the breakdown. Again, we have the Axel and Everyday Carrier. Also, again, I have 2 pieces of Brazos for the skill tier. That's just pretty handy to get towards that 6 skill tier cap. This time though, I went for 1 Golan and the Grease named knee pads. This is the other new named item for the new Shiny Monkey brand set. This means that in total between those 2 pieces, we are getting 20% status effects, which is very useful for the shock that we're using on this build, which we'll get to. And then I also get a 5% skill efficiency boost from the 2 piece of Shiny Monkey. So the concept here is that once we proc that overcharge, it makes the shock duration from the shock trap go through the roof. So if you're able to strategically place this in front of a spawn door or just at a confined area, these enemies are going to be locked for a long time. Overcharge will also maximize the aggro of the decoy, which makes yourself, of course, far less of a target. And so to combo with all of this, I'm using the Cabaret named SMG for Perfect Thunder Strike, basically just meaning I can deal pretty high damage to these shocked enemies. Again, I would say beyond its solo capabilities, this would be a pretty good team support option, popping Overcharge, taking away the heat from your teammates with the decoy, but then most importantly, shocking them up with the trap, and just rooting them in one place for everybody to shoot them down. So that is more or less what I had to show today, folks. I really just wanted to spotlight the Axel backpack here, as I haven't seen too many people talking about it, but more than anything, I would love to get your guys' input on what some of the best builds are that you have made with this thing, or ones that you are thinking of and cooking up after watching this video. Collaboration is key in the Division franchise, and so, if you're willing to share, I would love to hear any and all ideas that you guys are thinking of down in the comments below. Of course, as always, in addition, any other thoughts or questions you might have after watching the video, feel free to leave those as well, and I will do my very best to respond. But that is just about going to do it for me today, everybody. If you enjoyed the video and you want to see more like it in the future, then I hope you will consider clicking that subscribe button if you've not already. There's plenty more like this one on the way. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. RogueGold. Ow.